Hello there, watching L24 Midnight News coming to you live from Algiers, and to the headlines. Speaking to Al Jazeera channel, President Abdelmajid Tebboune declared that Algeria's relations with Morocco have reached the point of no return, blaming the neighboring kingdom for the current situation. Talks between Venezuela and the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic culminated in the signing of 11 cooperation agreements covering various sectors, including global education, health, and agriculture. And after he denied the existence of the Palestinian people, the Parliament of Jordan has voted to expel Zionist ambassador to Amman from the country in a protest against his racist colonizer behavior. China urges the United States to reconsider its role in the Ukrainian conflict and stop criticizing Beijing's position on the issue. Hello again and welcome. Starting from Algeria, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune congratulated the Algerian people on the occasion of the advent of the holy fasting month of Ramadan, calling on the merchants to contribute in instilling and spreading the values of solidarity, assistance and mercy in this very special month.
إنني أهيب بتجارنا النزهة وهم الأغلبية، وبالأخص تجار الأحياء، أن يساهموا كما عاهدناهم في زرع وبث روح التضامن والتعاون والرحمة وبعث قيم الجزائر المتأصلة في مثل هذه المناسبات.
Meanwhile, President Tebboune called on Algerians to avoid the bad consumption habits, especially waste.
لقد اتخذت الدولة كافة التدابير فيما يتعلق بتموين السوق احترازا من أي تذبذب في التوزيع أو تلاعبات بقوت المواطنين، كما أدعو مواطنينا ومواطناتنا إلى تجنب العادات الاستهلاكية السيئة، وخصوصا التبذير بكل مظاهره. وفي الأخير أهنئكن وأهنئكم أنتم والجالية الجزائرية في الخارج بحلول هذا الشهر الكريم.
Also, President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune exchanged wishes on the occasion of the advent of the holy month of Ramadan, where several presidents, heads of states and Arab leaders, including the President of the Tunisian Republic, Kais Saied, the President of Islamic Republic of Mauritania, Mohammed Ould al-Ghazouani, and the President of the Republic of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. With the president still, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune granted an interview to the Qatari news channel Al Jazeera, during which he tackled various current regional issues. President Tebboune evoked a possible return of Algerian ambassador to Paris, saying that the move is not excluded.
علاقتنا دائما فيها ذبذبات
فوق وتحت
فوق وتحت معروف، يعني نظرا للماضي الأليم اللي عشناه مع بعض. عشنا 132 سنة مع بعض، كان فيه يعني الأمور سيئة جدا. والذاكرة احنا شعب بيخاف من التاريخ ويسجل كل خطواته في التاريخ، وما نتخلاش على تاريخنا، وما نتخلاش على الذاكرة نتاعنا. السفير حتى لا يرجع لنا في عنا جالية وعنا
يعني قريبا سيعود السفير.
القنصلي لازم يقوموا به، ولازم إن شاء الله مش مستبعد.
Meanwhile, the Algerian president regretted the current situation that marks the Algerian-Moroccan relations.
نأسف على الشيء اللي وصلنا له يا جارين. ثانيا الإنسان يستخلص العبرة في 60 سنة استقلال، الحدود مغلوقة منذ 43 سنة، في أكثر من دلالة وأكثر من جواب على السؤال تاعك. كل حال وصلنا تقريبا نقطة لا رجوع، وإحنا الموقف تاعنا رانا في ردة فعل، لن نكون يوما ما البديئين لعيش.
Evoking the relations between Algeria and Spain, President Tebboune indicated that Algeria considers Spain's position on Western Sahara as an individual position of the government led by Pedro Sanchez.
إسبانيا كان من المفروض تقعد في الحياد، وهذاك هو الشأن.
ولكن انحازت إلى المغرب في موضوع الصحراء الغربية.
ماشي انحازت بتصرفات اللي ما تعفيهاش من المسؤولية تاعها، وكانت تصرفات سرية، لأن كنت استقبلت أنا الرئيس سانشيز شهر قبل ولا شهر ونصف، تحدثنا في كثير من المواضيع لأن علاقاتنا مكثفة مع إسبانيا. وفي النهاية اللي فتحوا ملك المغرب واللي قرا رسالة، حتى الوزراء تاعو ما كانش على بالهم بالموقف هذا الجديد اللي خذاه الملك نتاعو، ما على بالوش، البرلمان الإسباني ما كانش على باله.
Also, with regard to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, the head of state underlined that Algeria is among the fewest countries with full credibility to undertake mediation.
الجزائر ما بين الدول القلائل اللي عندهم المصداقية الكافية اللي تخليهم وسيط، الجزائر تكون وسيط في كثير من النزاعات، حتى النزاعات اللي ما هيش في افريقيا في القارة نتاعنا. ولا نتمنى باش الطرفين يكونوا قابلين الوساطة. احنا حاولنا وساطة على رأس وفد عربي للجزائر بصفتها تترأس الجامعة العربية.
Speaking about the Palestinian cause, President Tebboune said it is a central cause for Algerian people and Algerian government. Also, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, extended condolences to the family of the activist and friend of the Algerian Revolution, Monique Herveau, who died at the age of 95, and paid tribute to the deceased. Later, Monique Herveau was known for her fight for just causes and the defense of militants of Federation of the National Liberation Front. Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf reviewed in a phone call from his Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry the various aspects of brotherly relations and cooperation between the two countries. Both parties exchanged visions on regional and international issues of common concern, especially matters related to the region, on the top of which is Palestine cause, or rather the Palestinian cause. According to a statement by the Algerian Foreign Ministry, the two ministers agreed to continue efforts to advance the mechanisms of bilateral cooperation between the two countries and to enhance consultations and coordination in order to achieve the aspiration of the two brotherly peoples and values their common interests. The month of Ramadan kicked off today amidst a difficult global economic situation that is making challenging for developing countries around the world. Rimzian on what follow.
The holy month of Ramadan is starting with millions of Muslims around the world feeling the pinch of inflation for the third year in a row. Prices for food and energy have been rising as the effects of climate change, the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's conflict in Ukraine weigh on the world economy. Palestinians, especially those with low incomes and the 80% of the population that depends on UNRWA aid, are bearing the brunt of the country's deteriorating economic condition. The situation isn't much different for Pakistanis. The cash-strapped South Asian nation prepares for Ramadan as it awaits a bailout package of $1.1 billion from the IMF and is suffering from a crippling economic slowdown.
Don't even ask about inflation. Everything is beyond the reach of the poor. They cannot even look at all these things on sale. In fact, even people from the middle class are compelled to think, what should we buy? What should we forego? These huge crowds that you are seeing here are only asking about prices and then going away. Not many people are purchasing much.
Prices have really gone very high this year. What can a poor person do? We cannot buy anything. I'm a working woman myself. I work for other households. What can people like me do?
In Egypt and Lebanon, poverty is deepening with the collapse of the two countries' currencies against the dollar, with the conditions of Syrians becoming more severe. And according to observers, the unprecedented inflation and economic crises are deepening the tragedies of Arab Muslim countries and stealing their joy.
In a different matter now, the Saudi Arab Democratic Republic and Venezuela signed 11 joint cooperation agreements in the capital, Caracas, in various sectors following talks between Sahrawi President Ibrahim Ghali and the Venezuelan counterpart Nicolás Maduro, who renewed his country's support for the Sahrawi cause and all issues of freedom and self-determination. Hussein Burkan on What Follow.
Remarkable presence of Western Sahara on the international level, the last of which is the state of visit paid by President Ibrahim Ghali at the invitation of his counterpart Nicolás Maduro. Caracas renewed its commitment to defending the Sahrawi cause until the completion of decolonization.
Venezuela had a historic position, and we maintain it today more than ever before, to respect the resolutions of the Security Council and the United Nations to grant the Sahrawi people the right to self-determination. We are committed, even with our lives, in defending the Sahrawi cause.
A political will that brought together the Sahrawi and Venezuelan presidents in the Miraflores Palace in order to strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries and promote them to the highest levels, culminated in the signing of 11 joint cooperation agreements whose fields varied from education, health, agriculture, and water to visa cancellation on diplomatic and private passports.
Our peoples are working to consolidate these relations with this fruitful official visit that we are honored with, not only because of the important agreement signed between the two parties, but through the firmness and commitment shown by Venezuela to intensify solidarity and support for the just cause of the Sahrawi people.
In the light of these agreements, concluded after lengthy talks between the delegations of the two countries, observers expect their quick implementation on the ground, starting with the influx of hundreds of students from the Sahrawi Republic to Venezuela for university courses.
In Africa still, U.S. Special Envoy to Libya, Richard Norland, stressed the need for neighboring countries to support the political process for the benefit of Libya and the region. In the process of searching for solutions that advance the political process in Libya, the parties stressed the need to achieve a Libyan consensus on any path to solutions, but this does not seem sufficient alone, unless the neighboring countries play positive roles within a mechanism with specific goals to achieve a breakthrough in the political process on path of national reconciliation. Now, in the Middle East, Jordan's parliament on Wednesday voted in favor of proposal to expel the Zionist envoy to Amman. The MPs reaffirmed that rejection of the summit reached move, which implies Zionist entities' arrogance and disrespect for international treaties and charters. Nabil Khazi.
From the inside of the Jordanian parliament came the answer, firm and clear. There is only Jordan and Palestine on the map. That was the response to the Zionist minister who ignited the anger of the Jordanian MPs who voted to expel the Zionist entity's ambassador from the kingdom.
We in the House of Representatives call on the government to take effective measures towards the occupation government finance minister's use of a map of the so-called Israel that includes the borders of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the occupied Palestinian territories.
Smotrich, who heads a Jewish supremacist party in Benjamin Netanyahu's far-right coalition, denied the existence of a Palestinian people or nationhood, prompting a rebuke from the United States just weeks after calling for a Palestinian town to be erased. Earlier this week, a man said Smotrich's move was a provocative act by an extremist and racist minister that violated international laws and Jordan's peace treaty with the occupation authority.
The statements made by Israeli Minister Smotrich that there is no Palestinian people and that it was invented in the last 100 years is conclusive proof of the extreme racist Zionist ideology that governs the parties of the current Israeli government. These statements, for those who wanted to eliminate dialogue, expressing the arrogance of power, do not shake our belonging to our land and our history.
Several countries, including Algeria, condemned Smotrich's remarks, which add to the last aggressions from the occupation authority against the Palestinian people and their country.
Still with the Palestinian cause, in Palestine, 28 citizens from the West Bank have been arrested by the occupation forces. In the same line of thought, the Palestinian Prisoners' Affairs Organization said in a statement that the occupation authority has isolated the leaders of the prisoners inside the prisons in an attempt to stop that struggle, which will begin Thursday with a hunger strike. To the European continent now, French President Emmanuel Macron has given a defiant defense of his decision to force through a rise in the pension age in the face of protests across France and to no confidence votes. More.
French lawmakers criticized comments made by President Emmanuel Macron Wednesday regarding his unpopular pension reform plans in a televised interview in a bid to calm 10th Street protests in recent days.
He has never taken a risk, and contrary to what he says, he has always thought about his personal comfort, about strengthening his own personal power, and never ever about the best interest of the people.
French president, whose government survived 2 no-confidence votes at the lower chamber of parliament, said a deeply unpopular new law that raises the retirement age was necessary and would enter into force by the end of 2023.
So yes, there aren't 100 solutions. If we want the pension system to be balanced, it no longer is. And the more we wait, the more it will get worse. And so this reform is necessary. And I say this to the French people. I don't enjoy doing this. I would have preferred not to do this. But it's also because of a sense of responsibility that I expressed my commitment to do this in front of you.
Unions, workers and Paris residents are not convinced by Macron's interview, as another nationwide day of strikes and demonstrations have been announced on Thursday.
Tomorrow, we will be on the streets again to demonstrate against the pension reform and demand its withdrawal.
Polls show a wide majority of French are opposed to the pension legislation, as well as the government's decision to push the bill through parliament without a vote, and protests against the bill have drawn huge crowds in rallies organized by unions since January.
Kiev announced on Wednesday that President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the front lines in the city of Bakhmut, the main focus of fighting between the country and the Russian forces since the summer, shortly after pro-Moscow forces announced that the city had practically been surrounded. According to Ukrainian presidential website, Zelensky visited the fighting forces in Donetsk region of the Donbas region, where Bakhmut is located.
I'm honored to be here today in the east of our country, in Donbas. It is your historical mission to protect our land and return everything belonging to Ukraine for our children. I think it would be fair to honor the memory of our fallen servicemen, our heroes that protected Ukraine with a minute of silence.
Within the same matter of Ukraine-Russia conflict, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told lawmakers on Wednesday that China was very carefully watching how U.S. and the world respond to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the impact of which, he said, was being felt in Asia. Speaking on the heels of a visit to Moscow by Chinese President Xi Jinping, Blinken said if Russia was allowed to attack its neighbor with impunity, it would open a Pandora's box for would-be aggressors and lead to a world of conflict.
The stakes in Ukraine go well beyond Ukraine. And to your point, I think it has a profound impact in Asia, for example. Everyone is watching to see how we and the world responds to this aggression, and they'll draw their lessons from it. One of the reasons that there are so many partners involved in this from Asia is precisely because, even though this is happening half a world away, they see the stakes for them. One of the leading countries in our coalition to support Ukraine is Japan. South Korea is playing an important role. Australia is too. And they see the stakes. I think if China is looking at this, and they are looking at it very carefully, they will draw lessons for how the world comes together or doesn't to stand up to this aggression.
A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson urged the U.S. to reflect on their role in the Ukrainian conflict and to stop shifting blame to China. As President Xi left Moscow following a meeting with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, the Chinese leader has made no direct support for Putin's war in Ukraine, but the White House said China's position was not impartial.
我们奉劝美方
We urge the United States to examine and reflect on its role in the Ukraine issue, correct its wrong behavior of adding fuel to the fire, and stop shifting blame to China. We will continue to firmly stand on the side of peace, dialogue, and historical correctness, and work constructively with the international community to continue to play a role in promoting a political solution to the Ukraine issue.
The Kremlin on Wednesday shrugged off the West's hostile reaction to the summit between President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi, during which they reaffirmed their alliance amid conflict in Ukraine. The Chinese president has left Russia, wrapping up a 3-day visit during which he and Putin signed a series of agreements on strategic cooperation between Beijing and Moscow.
Naturally, the West's reaction to Russia-China talks is not the most important. It is the result of the talks and the state visit that matter. As for the reaction of countries from the collective West, it's not a secret for anyone that the reaction is unfriendly and openly hostile on all issues. The coverage of this important visit is no exception.
The Algerian national team conducted its another training session at a national team's preparation center in the Sidi Moussa Center in the capital of Algiers. The training session that preceded a double confrontation against Niger in CAN 2023 playoffs witnessed the presence of all players, including the striker Baghdad Bounijah, who replaced the injured Islam Slimani. On the sidelines of the training session, the new players within the national squad of the Desert Warriors expressed their pride in carrying the colors of the Algerian national team, stressing that determination to honor the trust of the coach and to make the Algerian fans happy with their performances.
Très heureux. Pour moi, c'est un rêve qui se réalise.
I'm very happy. It's a dream come true. My goal was to get into the team, and the head coach motivated me to do that. I will give my best for the national team and our fans.
C'est mon cœur qui a parlé. Ça fait longtemps maintenant que j'ai décidé de jouer pour l'Algérie.
It was the call of the heart. I have decided to play for the national team a long time ago.
J'attendais d'avoir une discussion avec le coach.
I was only waiting to be briefed by the coach, and once he reached me out, I have expressed to him my desire to join the national team. He is like the big brother, and he motivated me to join the national squad.
Franchement, comme un grand frère, et franchement, ça m'a poussé encore plus de vouloir rejoindre la sélection.
Je regarde l'équipe d'Algérie depuis que je suis tout petit.
I've been watching Algeria's games since I was a child, and I always spend my holidays here in Algeria. To be called to join the Algerian national selection by the coach made me proud, and I am really proud of being here with the national team.
D'être ici pour moi.
To this end, ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for being with us. All I can say at the end, have blessed Ramadan, have blessed Suhoor, and good night.